Gilligan's Island first aired in September of 1964. The show was a massive success from the get-go. Families tuned in each week to see what kind of trouble the famous cast would get themselves into. It was created and produced by Sherwood Schwartz and featured beloved actors like Bob Denver, Hale Jr., and Natalie Schafer. Though still known today for its impact on the TV world, the show only aired for 3 seasons. Let's take a deeper look at why the show was taken off the air and some of the secret messages the show featured. The 7 Deadly Sins. Fans have always rumored that each of the 7 cast members stranded on the island represented one of the 7 deadly sins. The sins are lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. Many fans believe the island served as an image of purgatory. The show influenced pop culture for decades to come, but with mentions of hellish undertones, some fans are re-questioning some of the show's best moments. Here's a rundown of each character and the role they played with their individual deadly sin. The Professor. The doctor on the show was portrayed by Russell Johnson and was commonly referred to as the Professor. Throughout the show, he's known as the island know-it-all. This makes sense considering he's the most highly educated of all of them. The sin associated with the Professor is pride, always having an answer, even if it's not correct. Thurston Howell III. Thurston is played by Jim Backus and is known on the show for being the rich character. He was a former billionaire before he found himself stranded on the island. He's the lazy island mate and never works with the others. His deadly sin is considered greed. Ginger Grant. Ginger was played by Tina Louise, and she plays the role of the Hollywood movie star. Like many famous actresses, Ginger was obsessed with her looks. Though it's hard to look fabulous while you're stranded on an island, she did just that. For her obsession with her looks and her slim physique, Ginger is believed to represent the sin of lust. Mary Ann. Mary Ann was portrayed by actress Dawn Wells. On Gilligan's Island, she was the small-town farm girl who helped with daily duties like laundry and cooking. The Kansas native was shy on the island, but it seemed she had a crush for Gilligan throughout the series. More reserved than Ginger, Mary Ann earned the sin of envy for her jealousy of Ginger's looks and outgoing personality. Mrs. Lovey Howell. Lovey was the wife of Thurston. Lovey was played by actress Natalie Schafer. Being the wife of a former billionaire, she was the gluttonous character. Not only was her greed shown through her wealth, but she was often eating more than her fair share of food on the island. The Skipper. Played by Hale Jr., the skipper was also known as the captain of the SS Minnow, the boat that crashed them on the island. On the show, he was at the receiving end of many fat jokes and was known for his temper. Almost every episode had a scene where Skipper punched and hit Gilligan. His deadly sin was therefore wrath. Gilligan. Last but not least, the character who the show was named after, Gilligan. He was played by young actor Bob Denver. Throughout the show, he was defined as the goofball character. While the crew tried to make many rescue attempts to get off the island, Gilligan somehow always screwed things up for the group of castaways. His deadly sin is sloth, or laziness and inaction. It seems each character falls into their own category. Could one of the most iconic shows in history be based on the cardinal sins? Well, wait no longer. The answer is here. Is it true? As it turns out, the urban legend is actually true. There were years and years of speculation that each character represented a deadly sin, but creator Sherwood Schwartz recently confirmed it. On NPR, Schwartz confirmed that he was inspired by the deadly sins and that the island did represent a variation of purgatory. After all, it was Gilligan's Island, and he was the reason the group could never escape. Though the show only ran for a few seasons, it had a grand impact on the future of TV. We bet the next time you're watching reruns, it will seem a little bit different now. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like, and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. And stick around for more untold truths about Gilligan's Island. First up, the show had more than just one inspiration. Apart from the 7 deadly sins, it was inspired by a professor that Schwartz had in college. During his time at New York University, Schwartz took a number of writing courses, but it was his class on public speaking that sparked the idea. He was instructed to give a minute-long speech on the one item he'd bring with him if he was to be stranded on a remote island. Schwartz went on to have an amazing career in TV writing and eventually decided to create his own show. It seems the idea of being stranded on an island stuck with him. In his writing of Gilligan's Island, he took a political stance by showing that people from all walks of life can get along if it's in the interest of survival. Gilligan's Island plays a role in why we today have shows like Lost and Survivor. More surprisingly, Gilligan's Island almost featured a historic animal. During the process of writing the show, a network exec at CBS made a bold suggestion that could have changed the trajectory of the show. The executive suggested that in the pilot, Gilligan should climb a tree to scope out the island. While searching for signs of life, the executive wanted Gilligan to find a dinosaur. The vision was that Gilligan would keep the animal as a pet and have it on a leash. Afraid to turn down their boss, the writers had to genuinely consider this absurd idea. Luckily for Schwartz and the other writers, the technology to do this at the time was far too expensive. Thankfully, no dinosaurs were included in the show, and it remained a huge success for years to come. It was so popular, fans still found interest in Gilligan's Island well into the early 80s. It appeared many fans were still interested in the show because it was notably canceled with absolutely no explanation of how they got off the island or if they ever even did. Luckily, TV networks recognized the calls for more screen time of the castaways. In 1978, a TV movie was created called Rescue from Gilligan's Island. The plot of the movie was that the crew built a massive raft to help them escape the island from a massive tsunami headed their way. Eventually, the castaways are discovered and finally make their way back to civilization. Somehow, by the end of the movie, everyone is back on the island. By this point, it was clear producers were trying to milk the show for everything it had. Once again, in 1979, another TV film was released, this time called The Castaways on Gilligan's Island. This time, the crew leaned into the fact that they'd never get off the island. They decided to use the billionaire's money to build an island resort. There was virtually no plot to the second movie, and ideas were held together by loose strings, but it didn't matter as long as fans enjoyed it. After the second movie, they decided to wrap up the production with one final movie in 1981. The third movie in the trio featured a bizarre premise. The Harlem Globetrotters were very popular in that time. Therefore, they starred in the movie alongside the mates of Gilligan's Island. The popular basketball team helped defeat the evil businessman who was trying to take away the mining rights of the island. The Globetrotters ended the movie by defeating an evil team of basketball-playing robots. The film was understandably a flop, and this is where the series ended. So what do you think? Do you think Gilligan's Island lives up to the hype, or is it overrated? Let us know what you think in the comments section. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts Verse for more. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.